Welcome in, everybody. Welcome into the Blueprint. This is our podcast for building men and equipping them. We want to give you the tools and equipment to build your life with. And so our goal and the idea of the Blueprint is simply this. We're building men for this generation and for the next one. It's been a powerful time. We've been blessed in a lot of different ways. But the way we do it here is we do a bi-monthly podcast that go out to men on our YouTube channel. We'll continue to build with them. Then we also do a quarterly in-person empowerment with leaders and business owners and pastors and teachers and all kinds of people from society to kind of build and pour into men. Along with that, we also have a Facebook page called The Blueprint that you can go to on Facebook. And what it'll do is that every day, Monday to Friday, you'll get encouragement and built up and strengthened. Our goal in this season is to build 5 million men to love, lead, and 5 million women. We want to empower them. We want to strengthen them in a major way to make an impact in this society. I'm your host, Pastor David B. Mills, married 33 and a half years. I also am married to my wife for life, girl from my world, and my best friend to the end, Bernadette Mills. I also have, I've been pastoring for 26 years with TTW Church here in Delaware. We're excited about what God is doing with these men. And I got a great guest for you today. I got a great guest. He's going to come on in and he's going to help us. And we're going to bring in and I'm going to introduce him and let you meet him. All right. Welcome in, Dr. Ken Gladney.
My brother from another, Dr. David Mills. Good to see you, my brother.
Hey, listen, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much for being with us on this podcast. I just, you know what, my goal is to give men of God that have character, that have honor, that have integrity, that have longevity, and make sure that they understand that we're here and we're here for them. And so thank you again for being here. I celebrate you and Pastor Tina. Y'all are incredible people. We love y'all and appreciate y'all. And thank you for helping me be a part of the wonderful wedding you just had with your incredible daughter, Gladney. That was incredible, phenomenal time.
Yes, sir.
Guys have been doing some incredible stuff already. So we're excited about that. Here on the Blueprint, we continue to build men. We want to encourage them and give them a safe place to go to get some help from some things that we might not get in school. We might didn't get on the corner. We might didn't get in the locker room. Some of these conversations about relationship, about leadership, about finances, we just didn't have them. And so sometimes we want to put these things back. We're giving the tools and equipment to build with. So welcome in, Pastor Gladney. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you. Listen, I gave you a nice casual background. We're going to talk about men. I said, let me get in the kitchen because a lot of cooking gets done up in here. So let's get them pots of smelling and boiling.
All right, let's cook. All right. Listen, when you look at the culture, particularly when it comes to this area of manhood, when you think about manhood, what do you see and what do you think?
So I'll start with this. I'm very, very, very blessed that my dad is still alive. My dad was in the house when I grew up. So I left home with the ability to cook, the ability to know how to manage a book, how to fix something. I tell people I can fix your plumbing, your electrical. I can cut your grass. I can cook. I can walk, but from soup to nuts. So I think it made me more of a well-rounded person. But there was still a little bit of I don't know. I didn't always know how to ask for help.
Okay.
So sometimes I find that we probably talk about it more that we as men don't always ask for help. So we can tend to lead while bleeding, but afraid to ask for help. And I'll say this real quick. We have a men's session too. And years ago at another church we were helping with, the brothers sitting around the circle. One brother's like, if somebody needs help, I got these heaters because we didn't have heat this summer. And another guy's like, what? We didn't have heat either. I wish I had known because I would have asked you to borrow your heating machine. And they were like, why do y'all say something up front? Because we always helped y'all not to have heat. So we're talking about two men that family didn't have heat over the winter because no one said I need help.
Come on. That's pride. That's pride. And pride will kill you. And I think that place of humility, and I think that place of transparency, and particularly with men, for men and to men. You know what I mean? And not realizing that, hey, if I need help, there's got to be some people in my life. And that goes back to, I think, building relationships too, though. Building that man to man. And I think in our society right now, while I'm excited about it, it's a couple of things, I'm also challenged by them. You know what I mean? I'm excited about the idea that there is a level of conversations that are happening now that have not been happening. I'm also excited about the idea that there's some expression of transparency and vulnerability that probably haven't been going on, that's going on now. But the same token, it's like, so it's a lot of, I think the last thing I looked at, I think it's like something like about 59 to 63% of single parent homes right now. So that's a lot of homes without a demonstration or a picture of what a man is in his future.
Yeah. And how many generations that go for? So if you're saying 55%, that didn't happen overnight. So we'll go back, or I'll go back to when I was a kid, probably in the 80s. I still saw, parents in the household. That's 50 some years ago. No, 40 some years ago. So now, so that's at least almost 2-3 decades worth of not seeing him in the house. And some of the social systems don't permit men to be in the house. So where do these kids go? Even when we did youth camps as young pastors, we were youth pastors. A lot of kids that got on the bus with us to these youth camp, the very thing they said, my dad never came to my football game, or I don't know who they are. And while healing took place, that's still a wound that's there. And we always say, I'm not going to do what my dad did, but then you repeating the cycle because that's all that we know. I'm not saying that's consistent, but until we get in and get that healing, then it's hard for us to not repeat history because I only know what I grew up seeing. Where are our examples? And you said something that's super critical, and I have to check myself from time to time. I'm really picky about integrity and character. And I can sometimes cut people off because if I see your integrity character off, I'm like, but that's the only thing that really can represent me that I can control and own. I'm going to do something for Dr. Mills. I'm going to do something for Dr. Mills. Right? You don't have to question me a day before and say, Ken, are you going to show up? I'm like, no, I told you I'm coming.
Yeah. But I think those are some of those malehood gems that were not in the locker room. They wasn't on they were sure enough one on the corner. All right. And we had that be down, get down theory. But that what's crazy is we had more loyalty in gangs than we got loyalty for family.
Absolutely.
But which don't make no sense to me either. For me, my dad was absent, so I had a gamut of gaps, man. I had a gamut of communication, a gamut of leadership, a gamut of even the picture of what I'm supposed to be in culture, because the environment shapes mindset. I grew up in a project. I grew up single parent, and I grew up in poverty. So everybody had an uncle. Nobody had a dad. Yeah. And so the construct was all jacked up, and until I came to Christ. Matter of fact, I'm gonna say right before I came to Christ, the Lord did another thing. I had a Will Smith moment in the ideal of the Fresh Prince of Chester. All right, me and my mom got into it when I was about 14. She said, "You're moving with your uncle over on the other side of town." All right.
Not Bel Air, though.
No, sure enough, wasn't Bel Air. We ain't had that kind of money. All right. So I moved over there again. The first day I got jacked up because I was confused. He was there the second day.
Wow. That
by itself messed me up because I was like, why you still here? He said, I'm married. And I was like, oh, that's what that means? And so just in that construct alone, let me see that there were men that actually stayed married. Yeah. And that began a whole different prism of what manhood was what it was about. Now, he didn't go to church and that, which was really interesting. He didn't go to church, but he stayed married and he stayed at home. And I was like, this is different. And so it was really incredible to me. And I think that exposure does so for us, man.
Oh, yeah.
I got exposure from this guy. His name is Dr. Richardson, man. He was phenomenal. This dude was a pastor, man. I went to counseling at his church, but he was one of the first guys I ever saw, man. Open the door, pull out the chair, put the napkin on the lap. You know what I mean? Order his wife dinner. I was like,
yeah.
What is that? And it was manhood personified in kingdom. You know what I mean? Loving one woman. I'm like, what is that? And so we took classes with them, but it gave me a whole nother picture of what manhood was.
Yeah. You said about image, right? Because I think when I grew up, it was awesome having a mom and dad in the house, but there were rules that didn't apply to everybody else. So I didn't fit in because we could only play in front of the house. If we had to go to the back of the house, we had to go through the house to get to the back. We got like 12, 13, 14, we can ride our bikes from the front to the back. When I got like 15, I could ride around the block.
Right.
Most kids you just stay at home because everybody else could play at the park down the street. We could. If you look at it like, wow, Ken, you had it good. I'm like, yeah, but the shelter life also created you don't fit in, right? Then I got in the segregation where you got bused into the suburbs. Then I'm in these classes where I'm like 1 or 2 black people in the classroom. We had to deal with that. And it was so much of a culture shock. But if we look at it now, like, well, Ken, your parents are in a house. I said, yeah, absolutely. I saw that structure, but no one knew the anguish I went through as a kid that didn't fit in their own community, fit in the community I was bused to. So I'm between all those worlds. But I understand how that made me who I am today, because it helped me think about how do we get from where we were, but also how do I get to where some other people are living and maintain integrity? I can have both worlds.
Come
and
on.
I balance in both worlds because I understand commerce. I understand kingdom principle. I understand the relevance of a father and a husband. I saw the craziest video and I commented on it today. I'm not going to say the person, but they were interviewing someone in Detroit. And he said, how long you been married? Talking to the woman. She said, I've been married 37 years or 34 years. He said, oh, how do you do it? We live in separate houses.
What?
And he's like, huh? She said, yes. If you want to be happily married, y'all can live. We've been in separate houses for 10 years. And he's like, that works for you? She said, we don't argue. We don't fuss. He said, but when y'all have to be together? She said, we get together and then I go home. And it's like, that is not the image. And respectfully, not shutting out our non-black peeps, but she was a black woman. I looked at her hand, didn't have a ring on it. And she, this is okay. 10 years they've been living in separate houses. We call exceptions acceptable.
Mercy. That's crazy, by the way. But anyway, because just because you made the abnormal normal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You because of your lack of ability and skill. I think the skill of being able to do confrontation, be able to do repentance, we're able to do humility, able to do the things that are necessary to maintain. And it walks me into this thing called relationship. Because you know, I mean, because the neighbor didn't give me that either. They give me the relationship. It's you lust her, you don't love her. You know what I mean? Yeah. You get parts of her, but they didn't tell me how to love all the rest of her. And like that situation, instead of having two houses, you could have been in one house working this thing out together, putting some effort, some commitment, some communication, and dealing with confrontation and working out how to become one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Since you hit that, man, what do you think of some of the other factors that when it comes to our culture and dealing with relationships?
I don't know if we're always seeing good examples, right? Because I can tell you the best thing I was taught, to your point, is hit it and quit it, keep moving. Listen, we can see, was that the right thing, or was it more the check the box and it's more of a pride thing? And even because it all comes back to a pride, because you can talk about what I've done, but then we don't think about the breadcrumbs or the children that are along the pathway that I can spread myself into. And then the crazy part, if you look at now, we glorify the fathers that have many kids with many women, and it's only certain demographics we glorify. I saw a recent thing that actually listed all the men that have multiple kids with multiple women. One is the one that we see in the media all the time, but there are some others. I'm like, I didn't realize that person, because the media doesn't exploit the other ones that don't look like me. Exploit the one that looks like me, and then we say how ignorant he is. But actually, the list that they had, most of them did not look like me, and had equal to the amount of kids.
I think that's so powerful, and I think it's so real, and I think it's the ideal of realizing that if we don't have the right foundation, we're going to cause confusion. Yeah. You know what I mean? I always say, if you don't know the purpose of a thing, abuse is inevitable. So that went along with women. I didn't know the purpose of a woman was a wife, so I just used them for the purpose that I thought was purposeful. But I realized that how I grew up, I was carnal. I was a consumer of all things. All right. And then the other side of it was I just thought that conquering was a lifestyle, not realizing that I'm just leaving a whole bunch of collateral damage to my own community.
Yeah. And you said to your own community. I think we've been talking about how we make it, quote unquote, make it, and then we leave our communities. But we don't leave a place of legacy and understanding. But I can go back to my old community and I see the same people that are my age on the corner. I'm like, bro, you and I are too old to be on the corner. Yeah. What's so different about you than me? And I taught about 4 years at Sojourner's Place. When I tell people that I taught there, they're like, oh, we didn't know you had an issue, Ken. I'm like, it doesn't mean I have an issue. I said everybody can relate to making a bad choice. Everybody can relate to getting stuck in something. So I can understand. And while I was teaching a class on Bible study and just personal living for men, I can relate to making one bad choice. The blessing is I didn't get caught or get
Yes.
choices, right? And so what makes me so better than you is just I got out the stuck. So how do we go back and help people realize? And again, if I give you the tools and access, and you don't take it, that's no longer on me. But who is the tool and access, and who we always looked up to? What are the examples we have in our community? I mean, not to throw shade today. I'm seeing some stuff on social media. There was a college preparation session today in Delaware, and it seems like things went awry. And when we get an opportunity to be able to expand, we got to see it as an opportunity to grow, not an opportunity to show off.
Come
Right?
on.
And I don't like to wear wealth because our wealthy counterparts, they don't wear wealth. They make sure it's an investment that's a legacy. We want to show you my success, but in the bank or maybe at home, it's not transferable. It's only for the image. And I'm free from people. We need to get free from people. And I think in our culture, you need to see me as successful. Whether I'm successful or not, my image is success. But inside,
wow, man, you hitting on a lot of levels there, Ken. I mean that, and I think that what you're saying is so key. And I think so many times what happens too is that our cultures many times thinks that having these things is being whole, and they're not. They're not. They're just a shirt. There's some sneakers. They ain't gonna change your heart. They're not going to change your mind. They're not going to change your spirit. They're not going to help you. They're not going to help you relate. They're not going to help you build money. Matter of fact, you had to give up something to get it. But the ideal here is how do we go back and talk with them and give them clues of how do we do it? As wise man, how would you share with men about building godly relationships? What would be your suggestion?
I start with my mistakes first, right? And it had to start with me first, knowing what my purpose and calling is, and be okay that maybe we don't have the same, but we can work together, right? You and I wear the same jerseys, whether you like the Philadelphia Eagles or I like the Cowboys. Technically, in this ministry, we wear the same jersey. We're playing for the same goal. So let's start where what I'm good at and how you. I did something recent. The Lord put this on my heart with my two son-in-laws. I sent them a note saying, "Listen, you can learn from my life experiences.
Good.
Open the door and take advantage. I don't know what you're going through, but you can learn from my life experiences, and you don't have to repeat those things. That means you have access to my financial awareness, how I was successful in my marriage, what pitfalls I dealt." So I think that's that part where I'm no longer ashamed to talk about my failures, right? Because we think failure defines Ken. Failure doesn't define me. Failure was an event. It doesn't. If I learn from it, now I'm a better me for the next. So why not learn from my mistakes?
Yeah, I think what happens in that is that sometimes people don't believe that seasoned men want to show them those scars. But my scars make it so that you don't have to have them. You know what I mean? My wounds make it so that you ain't got to have them either. But I got to be willing. They got to be willing on the humility side. We got to be willing on the transparency side, and to be able to give that back and forth. Because even in that process, it's just we had one of the blueprints recently. And one of the panels we had was the ideal of just millennial men. And one of the things they were saying was, hey, we want to be able to share too, not just y'all share, but can we share too? Are you open to hear what we have to say also? And so, giving that dialogue, having that exchange between each other to be able to learn and grow together. And I think what you did was phenomenal in the ideal of just shooting that to your son-in-laws and saying, "Hey, I'm here for you."
Yeah.
The door is open. And I think that you don't have to go through problems to get wisdom that was already gotten. And I think that closes the gap. As a matter of fact, I think it closes the gap on situations, closes the gap financially, closes the gap relationally, closes the gap mentally about what men can have in their world, but they don't have to go through everything they went through to get it. Yeah. And I think that that's huge. If you would say to a young man right now, maybe two things that would benefit his relationship, what's another two things you might give him?
So if we're talking about my personal growth, it's or say their personal growth, identify where your weak spots are. There's a survey that works out. It's Strength Finders, and what Strength Finders does will help you figure out where your strengths are and where the areas of opportunities are. I don't like to say weakness, so they're opportunities. Then it tells you how to leverage your strength and partner with people that have the strengths in the areas that you have opportunities in. So if I can find out where my strengths are, but also areas of where my opportunities are, and I find people that are stronger in my areas of opportunities, we build the best team. So first be able to identify that, and that's being honest with me. Yeah. The next part, if that's the first one, the second one is, what are you going to do about the opportunities?
Come on.
you wait so long, and I'm guilty. I have a PhD in procrastination. And I'm
I
not
got a master's. Go ahead. All
listen,
right.
high school, I was not even up until maybe like 10 years ago, I was a professional procrastinator. But what the Lord showed me, because of my stubbornness and my unwillingness to change, he put me in a cycle of, if you don't do this on time, you're going to keep repeating the cycle. So I tell that story wherever I go. I'm like, this is what I had to learn. And I took the power back. And anytime I get to a situation now that I'm like, okay, I have two options. It's going to work out, or you need to fix it. So I just make sure I do the fix it up front. And also, like, say if it's you and I, if I'm somewhere and the Lord says, I need you to do X, Y, Z, I know I'm going to get home and procrastinate. So I'll instantly say, hey, Dr. Mills, I have this idea about X, Y, Z. Can we make sure you and I find some time in the next week or two to talk about it? Because that way you're my accountability partner.
Yes.
Find people to hold us accountable that are truth tellers, that have integrity and character. Now, maybe they don't have integrity and care, but they have one of those, but they got to be my truth teller. Because I can have my knucklehead buddy that's a truth teller, and they'll tell me, Ken, you're not supposed to be here with me. And I've been through that. When I was a kid, I did some stupid stuff. Most of the guys like, you ain't supposed to be here. Right. But I'm like, but if at home, I'm kind of nerdy. In where I go to school at, they don't see me fitting in. So I got to be with you, because that way everybody trying to find a place to fit in. But once I figured out who I really am, I fit in wherever I go. So I find know what my strengths are and the things that are my opportunities. How do I fix them or find people that balance me out to make us stronger? That's why my wife and I are so solid. She's got strengths I don't. I have strengths she don't, but together we are dynamic.
I think that's so wise, and the ideal of just everything you just said, because I think many times people don't realize that, when you come into a relationship, you come in together and you bring in everything you are bringing together, but you just can't come looking for the negative. You got to be able to support the positive too. And as you said, where are you strong at? Where am I? Where I have opportunities at? I like that word too. And so I think the ideal of it is being able to celebrate and love them. And then I think the other side, I was not taught till I came to Christ, and that was that unconditional love. That I can love you with all your opportunities and your strengths. Praise God.
Yes,
the way the Lord loved me with all my strengths and all my opportunities. Praise God. And realizing that now, man, as a mature person, I got to love you with those. I got to love you with all of those things, and I got to be able to encourage you, build you, pour into you, and love you, regardless of how I feel. Because there are going to be moments my emotions might even get in the way, and I got to be, still sacrifice them and be able to talk about them, communicate them. And I think even that part of communicate our emotions and our relationships, where we feel, what we hurt, what we do, and then celebrate. But at the same time, being able to be whole enough to know what my opportunities are, but celebrate your strengths.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think it's huge, man. I think it's huge.
When you said that, I thought about, and I almost used this word recently. I killed the word in my vocabulary, disappointment. Maybe about 10 years ago, the Lord challenged me because I was disappointed about something. And he said, who are you to diss my appointment? I'm like, wow. He said, you remember all the stuff I kept you from? So if you're disappointing this person because they didn't meet your expectation, I can't finish what I appointed them to do. I'm like, man. He says, so when you say disappointment, you're actually taking what I called to order and putting a diss on it. And that's not your power to do. And then it changed my perspective, how I look at people when I'm like, maybe I didn't set the clear expectations, but because I had an expectation, but that's not what the Lord's taking you through, doesn't make me right.
Come on.
Up. And then it gives me a way to how I intercede for people, how I pray for you without putting my tongue on you. Because me saying I'm disappointed means that you didn't meet my expectation. Then I got to remember, I ain't God.
Come on. I think that's huge. I love that disappointment piece. Mine is this one, Ken. I have no right to have an expectation where I haven't made contribution. Praise God. Like, you want them to be a leader, but you ain't teach them how to lead. Yeah. All right. You want them to be this, but you ain't teach them how. And if you haven't made a deposit, you haven't made the contribution, why are you putting an expectation on them? You didn't sow anything to reap that. And so that expectation, it can get us in a lot of places and get us in a lot of trouble. Help me with this, Ken. And I don't know yours is, but I know for a lot of our culture, one of the other struggles, not only just relationship, but it's also this idea of finances. How did you learn about finances, and how did you grow in that?
Uh, Man, so I was guilty of living for the Joneses, right? I can remember one time where, we had having our second child. We had just bought a Geo Tracker. It was my
Okay.
wife's car. It was our first manual transmission car, and she was pregnant. We're like, oh, we got to get rid of the car. So we bought a new car, and it turned out to be upside down in the note,
Yeah.
right? Because it's like, if what upside down means is that you owe more money in the car than what the trade-in value was. So that means your next car payment's going to be bigger,
Come
right?
on. Come
So
on.
thinking about that, and that went on for a little bit, but then the Lord said something. Probably, we've been married for 35 years this coming month, so almost 25 years ago, he said, have your wife come home from work.
Mm.
So she came home from work, was working, was keeping the kids, and we had two incomes, and we were just making it. Had one more car, had a car payment and a mortgage. And then when her income left, nothing ever got turned off. Nothing would, and it was like the Lord's like, listen, if you create more debt, you don't have anything to save. You don't have anything in your storehouse because you're giving everything away, and you become a debtor, not a lender. So in that time frame, the Lord cleaned us up. Literally, we saw stuff, and people are gonna think I'm crazy to share this. It was June. She left work in October of that year. That June, I'm driving to work. I'm like, Lord, you said to do this. I don't see how it's going to work. And it was June, and we saw this robin in our old house build a nest. The nest was probably, it was so low off the ground, and I think you froze me, so I think we're all right. It was so low.
I'm listening.
Okay, it was so low off the ground, it didn't make sense that the robin built the nest. But then we saw her brooder chicks during a drought. Everything worked out well. And the Lord said, just as much as I'm going to take care of that robin, I'll do the same thing for y'all. That's when life totally changed, because we were always living paycheck to paycheck. We were always trusting God for the next. But then he cleaned up our debt. The car got paid off. I never saw the extra money from the car payment. And then we went to a mindset of becoming lenders and not borrowers. So the shift started there. Plus, in my day job, I work a lot with wealthy folks, and I see how they leverage money for their benefit. I use those same principles. People don't realize that if you have a good FICO score, or if you have at least a little bit of ingenuity, you can tell people what you want versus paying full price. And I think it changed my mind about how I use my position, how I use my financial status to tell people what I expect from you. Versus if you go to a car dealership, you want the latest bling because you want it, but you can't afford it. They don't care. All they want to do, here's the part we figured about lenders. You borrow the car at a 20% interest rate. They sold the car. They already got paid on the top. When that car gets to the dealership, they're paying interest on that car. But you buy at full price, they got their money, the bank got the money. The bank got money because the dealership used them as a lender. So they got paid, the dealership got paid, and you're stuck with the goods. You stop making the car payment, they repossess the car. The Bates already got most of their money back. The dealership's already been paid. You got the car that they just took. You still owe money. They sell the car. Everybody's balanced but you, right? And it's like, if you start understanding the principle of finances, it changes your life. So that's kind of, that was the first start. And then it became stop making debt. Stop making debt. And then our mindset shift where we become the lenders and not the borrowers anymore.
I so love that. I so love that. And I love how, like you said, you got to go through something to learn it. Because I think, and the same thing for us. Like I told you, we came out of the hood, and so neither one of us knew how to handle a checkbook. Praise God. So we messed some stuff up the first couple of years, and we ended up putting ourselves, like you said, in debt. And then we had a couple of things that went on, and we were like, we got to get this together. It's got to be a way to be. And what I realized is that there are other cultures that take time to build financial literacy in their children.
Yeah.
And give them a vision for, this is what you're going to do with it. This is how you can handle it. This is how you can manage it. And I was like, wow, this is totally different than what I had. And so you have that, you have the hardship process that becomes your class, and you go through that class, but then it's now putting the discipline in, learning how to save, not just getting it to spend it, but then how to invest it. Yeah. I was like, invest. What? Invest? We can invest? Yes, you can invest. You don't have to have a whole lot of money to invest, but you just have to be regular and committed to invest. And then as you invest, and I didn't even get into the stocks, man, to my 40s, man. I was like, why did nobody tell me this? I could just put my money over here and y'all make money for me. I didn't know. I didn't know, Ken. I was just ignorant of it. But and then I think I learned about creating streams of income. You don't have to be one thing. You can do a couple different things. You're not limited to that. So, whether it's books, whether it's conferences, whether it's whatever, but you can create that. We got gifts, skills, and talents that can reproduce. And I think many times, I say this to some people, I think we get stuck on blessed. And God is like, no, I said, be blessed, be fruitful, and then multiply. Come on, Ken. And but our people are, hey, I'm blessed and highly favored. Where's the people that multiply?
Yeah.
Where are the people that replenish? I want to find out the people that's doing some systems, some companies, some businesses, and all those things. Because now we got to bring that back to our culture, bring it back, and then be willing to share it, and then position our children for their season. Like even right now, man, I got a couple of my kids I was trying to share some stocks with, maybe about 2 years ago, right? And out of the 5, I think 2 took it, right? Wow. So now, right, there's one of my daughters about to say, I'm about to go on vacation. Then one of the others said, the other one, well, how are you gonna go on vacation? She said, well, I used the money from that guy from the stocks. The dad put me on to. Yeah. And he was like, he said, yeah, 2 years ago. Remember, he gave you the option. What you do with it? So I can see where it's our job to give it to them, but they're gonna do what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah, when you said that about multiplying, I heard the art of the deal, because you always know how to do the deal. Whether it's what you're saying about investing, but a few months ago, we were at the Pastor Leaders Conference. That's what it was, and I heard one of the banks that were offering like a 5% money market account. Because if you don't really want to invest in stock, that's fine. Money market has a little bit of risk, and I'm like, wait a minute, what am I getting at my bank? So I went to our bank. Now there was 2 parts. I was traveling outside the country, and I wanted to buy some Swedish krona. Yeah. And they said it's going to take a couple of weeks. Okay, fine. I got it somewhere else. But then when I came back, I went to give it back to them and convert it to US dollar. They're like, oh, it's going to cost you $30 to convert. It's going to do that. I'm like, but it converts back to like $30. It's going to cost me more to convert it. Then I'm like, I'm done with you. Now I've been with this bank for 50 years. I said, you tell me that you can't waive the fee?
Come on.
I'm upset. I'm going to probably leave you. So my wife went in to make her IRA contribution, because again, think about you make an IRA contribution. If you're self-employed, you reduce your taxable income, and then you can do better. So but she went in and she said, my husband wasn't happy, where he's talking about pulling the money out. And for some reason, they found an account that would pay about the same rate of interest.
No, they didn't.
But they didn't tell me that before until they realized that we're going to pull the money out the bank.
Come on.
So, you're not comfortable dealing with stocks, you got to know the power that you have. And I think we settle for so much less than what God puts on us. Now, if you connect with people that know. So then when she went back in like a few weeks ago, the girl said, oh, by the way, that rate expired, but I have another one for you. I'm going to put you in. Now I'm saying to her, I said, girl, she said this stuff before. Now she's our friend because we want to earn anything. We
about to move that money. Come on.
Exactly. This is kingdom power. And we know the scripture tells us, I've given you the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's to bind and to loose, let me bind you up. You're not taking care of me. Someone else will.
Come on. I think that's so wise. And I think it's living with not a fear perspective, but with a faith perspective.
Absolutely.
And like you said, having a kingdom mentality of, no, I've been sent to have dominion. And that means dominion over what I have, as well as be a good steward. And then moving from stewardship to management to ownership. Yeah. No. This is mine. This is not really yours. You just was holding. And if you're not going to help me benefit and grow it, then I got to move it somewhere else. And I'm with you on that. I had an incident with one bank. I ain't gonna say it either, but we had the number. We was looking at a building. I didn't want to take all the cash out, so I told him I want to get a line of credit for about $30,000. But we had it already in the bank. The lady said, "Well, why don't you just?" I said, "No, I don't want to touch that. That's my cash." She said, "Okay." And I have been working with this bank for 20 years. And the lady said, "Well, you got 3 other accounts." I said, "I know what I have." She said, well, put it in for it. And they turned me down, Ken. So because they turned me down for 30, I moved 70,000 out of the bank.
Good for you.
Within a week. They were like, "Where you going?" I said, "To 3 other banks."
Yeah.
She said, "What do you mean?" I said, y'all turned me down for what I had, and I had 100,000 and y'all got. The church had money, I had money, we had money all over the place. But you turned me down with a 700 credit score, Ken. I said, "Okay." The Lord was like, "Yeah, you can take it." And I said, "Well, thank you." He said, "Move it around the 3 other banks." Why? Because the next time we do a deal, we're going to have 3 banks bid on it.
Hello.
Not one for no more. We'll never do it again. But like you said, you learn that through that process. And sometimes I don't think we always see ourselves as assets, but we have learned to see ourselves as liabilities.
Yeah, ooh, that's good for sure. That's
Mm.
not what God calls us, right? He calls us
No.
greater than. He calls us greater is he that's in you. And then if you
Come
see
on.
yourself less than, you're really saying, God, I know you said this, but I ain't. And even with all this, the thing that I come in to understand is how the enemy has tricked us for so long to be
Mm.
so less than. And then I
Mm.
look at the media, and the media really highlights that. Then the only thing I see, the only thing King can do to be successful is to hustle and do X, Y, Z. And then when I look at how, listen, I'll take it from the lens of the wealthy counterpart. They use debt to make money. And
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not saying debt is good, but if you don't know how to manage debt, debt manages you.
Yeah.
And there's a way you can say, to your point, I'm going to move this here, but I want to get a debt insurer or some type of credit facility to leverage the money as an asset, but I want
Yeah.
to take all the risk. And then I can write off some of this because it's a business or LLC. You can't do this much with personal, but at least from that you can. And then you put less risk on your cash and use the bank as leverage, right? So that's stuff but people do that every day. That's how
Yeah.
we make money, right? You borrow it at X%, and then you put it out for 2, 3, 4 times. But that's actually how banks work. They pay
Yes,
you
sir.
a low rate and they give it out at a high rate. So if we understand the system, then I
Mm.
can become a steward of God's kingdom principle and understand the system.
I so love that, man. Thank you for sharing it. I think that's the wisdom of God.
Yeah.
And I think it's my prayer is that it gets to everybody on every level, so they can make the changes to be able to do life with that. You know what I mean? Other thing I wanted to ask you about, man, was, and this is all these areas that you're really good at, is leadership. When it comes to leadership for our family, leadership for our home, what would you help us in understanding the idea of leadership?
Ooh. So everyone thinks that leaders just come out the womb and ready to lead. Leaders are built and developed. So, sometimes you got to make the hard decisions. We don't give feedback timely to people. We want
Mm.
to be leaders, and and this is no disrespect, I put water in a bucket with holes. That doesn't mean they're a leader. You can fix the holes, but don't put water in the bucket till you fix the holes. Sometimes we put people in leadership positions that we
Mm.
are not ready for.
Mm.
But we need them because we need to either expand or get stuff done. But then the risk is you're not ready to be a leader. You can say, well, take the chance. But the problem is this probably managing people or a product or money or something that's going to be impacted because they're not a good leader. So we have to think about how we build leaders. But then
Mhm.
as a leader, going back to what we said earlier, with your strengths and what are your opportunities. If you're good carousing people, great. But if you're bad in terms of managing and doing organization and doing planning for the future,
Yes.
who's on your team that does that?
Yes.
I've always had well in business and home. I can see visionary, I can put stuff together, but I also see what my opportunities are. And I put those people on my team that strengthen the areas that have opportunities. That way, as a leader, I let you be strong in your lane, but it also allows us as a team to be very tactful, but also give you strong and timely feedback. Because I don't want to hurt your feelings, bro. You're my buddy. No, this isn't about your feelings. How do you become a better leader so that you don't impact the mission, you don't impact the church, you don't impact the business, even in a household? I love my wife, but I also don't put certain weights on her that might extend her beyond her capacity. So I do all the heavy lifting. If there's an issue, I maintain that. But my wife does the stuff that keeps us. If we did it all my way, we have like one light in the house. It'd be very chiseled. We got to keep this. But she keeps things beautiful. But I help keep it within the constraints of, baby, we can't spend it. So you
Yeah.
mentioned if it was my wife's way, we would have spent a lot of more money for the wedding. Like, baby, we can't do that. So that's where the balance comes back in terms of I need her to be great, but also have to be able to be great in my position and balance it out.
I so love that. And the idea, again, that strengthens opportunities, but being sensitive enough to be able to deal with the confrontations that has to come along with it. Because I think some parts of leadership is that, like you said, they're not, no leader is born. You got to develop them. And then I realized why Jesus spent 3.5 years with these cats before he turned them loose. You know what I'm saying? And he like, no, Pete, no, bro, I can't turn you loose right now. You would cut up everybody. But it's walking with people and developing them. And then I think it's the ideal of being an example, one that be able to help them have influence, not just have it for yourself, but give them influence, helping them to have an impact and helping them to build and expand who they are. But then give them exposure and expand who they are, give them the ideal of experiences that come to build them as a person, but also, like you said, let them play their role that build their gifts, their talents, their strengths, so that they realize that if we win, we all win. It's not me winning. We got to win as a team. And like you said, even at home, with our wives, hey, babe, I love you. And I'm like you. I got massive vision. The details is my problem.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's Pastor Burn. Pastor Burn, the detail. Okay, but you're going to take care of this. You're going to take care of that. Okay, you got to pay for that. We got to work that. Who's going to handle that? And I'm like, no. What I said was the big picture. So, right. So learning that and then learning to appreciate it. Yeah. That, hey, I need those details because I'm gonna make a mess of the thing if I just keep going doing this big thing. But it's the details and being able to play to the strengths, play to the gifts, play to the talents, playing to the mindsets of the partnerships that you got to walk through. And I think those things. Then I think it's the other pieces. I know this as a pastor and I know as a leader. Learning how to do confrontation that don't kill people, but corrects them.
Oh. Ooh. That goes back to character and integrity, though, right? Because after a while, like we say this on Sunday, when does church start? I said it starts at noon. It doesn't start at 12:05. It doesn't start at 12:02. It starts at noon because we start service at noon. This is because after a while, if our character integrity is consistent, people know that's the marching order. And I heard someone say, your standards are too high. Like, why are my standards too high?
What?
It's the expectation God had put out on us. So I'm getting with the expectation. If we say noon, it's noon. If, Lord, I need you to show up and you say you're going to show up, I expect God to show up when he says to show up. So part of that goes back to our character. And if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If the balance of the church books are off, that's still my fault. All these things goes back to character integrity. And if you see that shaky, they don't trust you anymore. And I always remember this. I went to a church service and they said someone's going to be there. And they actually were honest. And when everyone got there, said, well, no, they're not going to be here. We're just going to play their video. I was like, no. And to me, that just tells me the person's integrity. And it's not that I believe God has grace and mercy. But when you do it for God, think about what image you're putting out there about God. Yes. That's the integrity of man that makes people say, I don't want to come here because your integrity is not there. You got to set that standard. We are
I agree with you. I think somebody told me a long time ago, they said standards will either cause people to raise them or run.
Hello.
So if you raise the standard, there's people that will raise the standard and raise up to the standard, or the standard is going to cause people. I don't want to do all that. Well, you don't really want the benefits of what come with that standard. Yeah, you want the excellence that comes with that. Like you said, the character that comes with that. The ideal of your who you are is being a part of. We can count on you for that. We have the integrity that you can walk in with it. But it costs. It costs those things called standard. It costs a commitment. It costs those things and the idea of leadership. And I think the things of integrity, consistency, having vision, being able to communicate vision, being able to walk through those processes, and then timing. And I think many times, talk about this as one key thing in the leadership is knowing the timing of where we are, timing where people are, where they are in maturity, not putting weight on, like you said, not putting weight on people too early. Yeah. Making sure that, hey, you know what, you at least you show up, a couple of weeks in a row before we made you an elder. You know what I'm saying? Something. We got to see, we got to see some fruit. We got to see some faithfulness. You know what I mean? We got to give you some time to develop, and we got to be willing to be patient with the process and the idea of time and working with people.
Yeah. And again, to this point, we're not saying we throw people away when they don't meet that standard, right? But that's what we keep developing, and hopefully and prayerfully they listen and evolve. If they don't, then they stay where they are, right? We only got through the second grade because we passed the test. That's it. And I think it's okay to put people in a place where you want to expand them and expose them to things. And when you do, the cream rises and people rise when they want to go really in their life. So I appreciate that so much. Last one I'm going to hit you on is this one, is being a father, man. What does it mean? Oof. Yeah. Yeah, so that is a full-time, never-ending job. One thing I would say that's critical, if you have more than one child, don't treat all the kids the same. Like, I think it's easy to say, this is how I'm going to father my kids. And I kind of had to learn that we have two kids, two girls. I have a favorite child of my two kids. I have a favorite oldest and a favorite youngest.
Come on.
But they each have to be treated differently. And I didn't learn that. Please, I think if we could do it over again, we would probably raise our oldest differently, because we think as parents, protect. They got to have more than what we had when we were kids, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes we don't want our kids to fail. A controlled environment that they can fail in and be safe. And, you know, we learned that being overprotective can be a hindrance. Plus, we kind of raised our kids in church. We didn't drink, didn't smoke, we didn't curse. Now, were we perfect? Absolutely not. Did we fight? Sure, we did. But we also balanced out the household. So being a father to me means I'm able to manage my kids. I'm being an example for my family, for my wife. I'm consistent at a job. I'm balancing finances. I'm home. I'm not the one that's flying off the handle. My character and integrity still operates at home. I respect my parents.
Yeah.
Just stressing that I respect my parents, because another example that comes back, how I'm treating my parents is how I expect to treat me. How I'm treating my wife is how I expect you to be, one, treated as a wife if you get married, or as a husband when you're getting married. So it's these consistent patterns have to go throughout our life. And I think in part of my life, struggled to manage and be what people said I should be versus being God says I am. So as a father, if I didn't have good examples, let me find people that are good examples. Yeah. We kind of have to find people that are good role models. And it's okay. If you don't have a father in the household, find role models. To your point, your uncle was it. And they do those things for an example, and you find these patterns. And back to the point of integrity, what I find for people that see me, sure, you might think my standards are high, but when hell is breaking loose, I'm the first person you call. And I don't treat you differently because of that. I love you way, and I give you the same information. And most of the time I said, you only called me because you knew the answer I was going to give you. Right. That's right. Means I'm giving you information and wisdom so you can have the correct tools and processes to make the right decision. If you don't make those right decisions, I gave you the proper tools and processes to use. They're in your tool belt, whether you use them or not. If you decide to use the screwdriver to nail in the nail, I can't fix that. But I gave you the resources in your toolbox to have a hammer to hammer in the nail.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I think that is what fathers do. I mean, they are and I think we get a bad rap on nurturing. We just nurture different. All right. And we lead different, and we cover different, and we care different. It is, but we're still there, and we still put our efforts in. And I think, like, I love what you said too. Every child is different. I got 5, and not one of them is the same. I was so shocked by that, but it humbled me. Amen. It humbled me because then I had to learn 5 different relationships, and I was like, God, you must have been preparing me for the church. Praise God. But it helped me learn how to. I realized too, man, that God will give you so much love for your children as a man. That you'll become what's needed for them. You'll nurture them, cover them, keep and protect them. But you'll also challenge them when it's needed to be challenged. But you'll be there for them. And like you said, you'll be there to walk them through their life for all your life. So I just want to say thank you again for the day, man. You blessed my socks off. I appreciate you. Oh, yeah, I've been blessed again by you. I appreciate it. Pastor Ken Gladney of Renewal Church. Oh, yeah. Also, he is also an incredible pastor. He's also, not only that, he works for JP Morgan. Also, he's a financial counselor. You heard the financial counseling coming out of him already. All these different things. But even better, he's an incredible human being, an incredible husband, incredible father. I thank God for you, sir. Thank you for your wisdom for the day. You blessed us in an incredible way. Gave us some more tools to be able to build with and continue to be better as men for the kingdom, and to be able to reach 5 million men, to help 5 million women, to be able to build, lead, and guide the kingdom in a different way. Thank you for helping us, for giving us tools for the blueprint today. We appreciate you, and we honor you, man.
Thank you. Give my love to Pastor Byrne for me.
Oh, yeah. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. Listen, this is it for the blueprint. We'll talk to you guys soon, bi-weekly. You'll be getting these podcasts. Again, it's on Facebook also for our Facebook page. And then also every quarter, we got an in-person to build you up. Thanks again for Dr. Ken Gladney. He blessed us today. We appreciate you, sir. Bye-bye.